I seriously never thought I'd be the one sitting here telling this story. I mean, who actually thinks their safe choice would ever walk away? I'm Keisha, 28, and I'm still trying to process how the man I had wrapped around my finger somehow slipped right off and ended up with a whole wife that isn't me. Looking back, I guess it started about 2 years ago when things with Marcus got too comfortable. We'd been together since college, 4 years of the same routine. Don't get me wrong, Marcus was good on paper. Steady job at the bank, always paid his half of rent on time, remembered my birthday, all that basic stuff. But there was nothing exciting about him anymore. I remember this one night when my best friend Tasha and I were at happy hour, and I was scrolling through Instagram showing her this fine-as-hell trainer from the gym who'd been liking all my workout selfies. "Girl, why you still playing house with Marcus when you could upgrade?" she asked. And I just laughed. "Because Marcus makes sure the bills get paid while I figure out my next move," I told her. That's when Tasha called him my beta provider, and I nearly spit out my margarita because it was too perfect. After that, it became our inside joke anytime Marcus did something predictable or safe. I'd text Tasha like, "Beta provider just surprised me with Olive Garden again." Meanwhile, I wasn't exactly being the girlfriend of the year. Marcus would text, and I'd leave him on read for hours because I was too busy flirting with the guys in my DMs. He'd want to plan date night, and I'd bail last minute if something better came along. One time, he planned this whole anniversary dinner, and I spent most of it Snapchatting with this rapper's hype man I met at a club the weekend before. The crazy thing is, Marcus never really called me out. He'd get this hurt puppy dog look, but he'd just take a deep breath and say, "It's all good, babe." I knew his stability wouldn't be enough for me, but I wasn't about to tell him that and lose my safety net. The work conference in Atlanta was where things really crossed the line. My marketing team was there for a weekend, and this fine sales director from the Chicago office had been eyeing me since the welcome reception. DeAndre was everything Marcus wasn't: confident, ambitious, with this magnetic energy that had me feeling like I was the only woman in the room. By the Saturday night mixer, I knew exactly where things were headed. I didn't even hesitate when DeAndre suggested we grab one more drink in his room. Marcus called twice while I was up there, and I silenced my phone both times. When I finally checked my messages the next morning, he'd texted, "Just wanted to say goodnight. Made your favorite pasta for when you get home tomorrow. Love you." The guilt lasted about 5 seconds. Back home, I started creating distance between Marcus and me. I'd pick fights over nothing, stay late at work events that were really just drinks with DeAndre when he was in town. One night, Marcus surprised me with tickets to this concert I'd been dying to see, and all I could think was how I'd have to cancel plans with DeAndre. The whole time, Marcus was planning this big surprise vacation to Jamaica for our anniversary. Meanwhile, I was getting bolder with my deception-taking calls from DeAndre while Marcus was in the shower, saving his contact under a girl's name from work, deleting texts as soon as they came in. Then came the night Marcus picked up my phone when it buzzed while I was cooking. "Who's Tamika from marketing, and why are they sending you heart emojis and saying last night was amazing?" His voice was so quiet. I snatched my phone back and went straight to defense mode. "Are you spying on me now? Going through my private conversations?" I flipped it around, making him feel like the bad guy for invading my privacy. "I wasn't going through anything, Keisha. The message popped up on your screen." He looked so hurt, but in that moment all I cared about was not getting caught. "It's just how she talks, Marcus." "God, you're so insecure." I watched him swallow whatever he was really feeling and mumble an apology. I actually had him apologizing to me, and I felt powerful. After that night, things changed. Marcus got quieter, more distant. He stopped checking in as much, stopped suggesting date nights. At first, I was relieved more freedom to do whatever I wanted. But then it started to feel off, like he was pulling away, and for the first time, I wasn't the one in control. That week, he started going to the gym more, staying late at work, making plans with his boys without giving me all the details. The tables had turned, and suddenly I was the one texting, "Where are you?" and getting vague answers hours later. I'd check his location on my phone, scroll through his social media looking for clues. Who was the insecure one now? One night, after ignoring my calls all evening, Marcus came home smelling like unfamiliar perfume. When I questioned him, he just shrugged and said, just drinks with coworkers, using my own excuses against me. It all came to a head the night I found the canceled Jamaica reservations in his email. I confronted him, demanding to know why he'd canceled our trip. The look he gave me was something between pity and disgust. "There's no our trip anymore, Keisha. I'm not investing in a future with someone who doesn't respect what we have." Instead of taking the bait, he pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots, dozens of them, messages between me and DeAndre, photos of us together at a restaurant, timestamps of calls that lasted hours while I told Marcus I was working late. "I'm not stupid, Keisha. I've known for months." Then he handed me a folder with apartment listings. "I'll be staying with my brother until you find a new place. The lease is in my name, so you have 30 days. My whole world collapsed. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He wasn't supposed to be the one ending things. I tried everything, crying, screaming, promising to change. Nothing worked. The beta provider had finally cut off his services, and I was the one left scrambling. The first month after Marcus left was a nightmare. I ended up moving in with Tasha because my income alone couldn't cover rent anywhere decent. Suddenly, all those brunches and shopping sprees I'd put on credit cards didn't seem like such good ideas. Meanwhile, DeAndre ghosted as soon as he realized I was single and actually available. My social media became my therapy, posting thirst traps, with captions like "leveled up" and "too much woman for one man," while I was actually crying myself to sleep on Tasha's pull-out couch. I'd stalk Marcus's profiles daily, but he barely posted, and when he did, it was never anything personal. Dating apps were a disaster. Every guy I matched with either wanted immediate hookups or had so much baggage they made Marcus look like an absolute prize. One night, after a particularly awful date, I broke down in an Uber. The driver had to pull over because I was hyperventilating, finally facing the reality that I'd thrown away someone irreplaceable. Work became my only distraction, but even that was tainted. The rumor mill had churned out all the details of my affair with DeAndre, and I could feel the judgment from my coworkers. My boss started assigning me fewer client-facing projects, saying my personal issues seemed to be affecting my performance. 6 months in, I hit rock bottom when my car broke down, and I realized I had no one to call. In the past, Marcus would have dropped everything to help me, but now that safety net was gone, I sat on the side of the road, watching traffic zip by, and it hit me how alone I really was. Tasha's sympathy was wearing thin, too. One night after I'd been complaining about being broke, she finally snapped. "You know what your problem is, Keisha? You still think you deserve everything without earning anything. Marcus spoiled you, and now you're mad the world doesn't treat you the same way." Then came the Instagram post that shattered whatever was left of my ego. 9 months after our breakup, I saw it Marcus with his arm around a gorgeous woman I didn't recognize. The caption read, "Congratulations to Marcus on his promotion to VP. Ayana couldn't be prouder." I immediately went down the rabbit hole. Ayana Turner, 30, pediatric nurse practitioner with a side business selling homemade natural hair products. Her Instagram was full of travel photos, professional accomplishments, and inspirational quotes about growth and gratitude. She was everything I wasn't: polished, purposeful, positive. What killed me most was seeing how Marcus had blossomed with her. In our last year together, he'd been talking about going back for his MBA, but I'd discouraged it. Now he was not only a new VP, but also halfway through that MBA program. He'd bought a house, to a beautiful colonial in a neighborhood I used to dream about. Meanwhile, I was still living with Tasha, drowning in credit card debt. I found myself creating fake profiles just to see more of their life together. They went hiking, which Marcus had always wanted to do with me, but I'd complained was too sweaty. They cooked elaborate meals together, posting videos that showed an easy chemistry I'd never bothered to nurture with him. After 3 weeks of unhealthy stalking, I decided I needed closure. I crafted a message apologizing for how things ended and suggesting we meet for coffee to properly close this chapter. When he actually agreed, I spent 2 days planning my outfit, imagining the scenario where he'd realize Ayana was just a rebound. The Marcus who walked into that coffee shop a year after our breakup wasn't the man I remembered. He looked better, more confident, more at ease in his own skin. When he smiled at me, it wasn't with the desperate hope I was used to seeing. It was the polite acknowledgement you'd give an old acquaintance. When I finished my speech, which had subtly hinted at the possibility of reconciliation, He thanked me for the apology. Then he said, "I forgave you a long time ago, Keisha. Not for you, but for me." Before I could respond, he added, "I'm engaged now. Ayana and I are getting married in the spring." He showed me the ring he'd bought her, stunning emerald that probably cost 3 months' salary. I tried to keep my composure, but inside I was crumbling. This was supposed to be my moment, my redemption story. I asked about Ayana, hoping to find some flaw. But listening to him talk about her only twisted the knife deeper. "She challenges me to be better," he said, "but loves me exactly as I am." When we said goodbye, he hugged me briefly, a friendly gesture with clear boundaries. "I'm happy we could end things on a better note," he said. "I wish you all the best, Keisha." And the worst part was, I could tell he meant it. There was no anger left, no pain, not even pity. Just a man who had healed and moved on. I watched him walk away to his new car, his successful career, his beautiful fiancée, and the reality hit me full force. He wasn't my beta provider. He was just a good man who had wanted to build something real with me, and I had been too selfish to see his worth until someone else claimed it. The wedding invitation arrived 3 months later. Inside was a handwritten note from Marcus. "Keisha, I debated sending this, but I wanted you to know there are no hard feelings. Our history is part of what led me to where I am today, and for that journey I can only be grateful." I didn't go to the wedding, but I did send a gift, a first edition of a book he'd once mentioned loving. It was the most thoughtful thing I'd ever done for him, and it came a year too late. Meanwhile, I started therapy, took a financial management class, and deleted my dating apps. So, that's my cautionary tale. I thought calling him a beta provider was funny until he started providing for his wife instead. And now, I'm the punchline.